In the last 15 years of having covered aviation, I've had several bizarre, sometimes frightening experiences. Flying with the Northern Alliance in Afghanistan, landing on tiny helipads in the Siachen Glacier, and flying very low sometimes on fighter aircraft with several air forces around the world. But today's experience is going to be really special. This yellow immersion suit is something that Her Majesty's Coast Guard, who we are with, requires me to wear. We're on the Shetland Islands in the very north of England, and the frigid North Atlantic is all around us. Today we're going to get a feel of what it is to be with the search and rescue team of Her Majesty's Coast Guard as we go down to ships, as we go to the cliffs in this area and winch down and winch up to get a first-hand feel for what it's meant to be in this force.
Targets going in the direction
right, it's time to head to the briefing room.
Vishnu or Jamie may well get winched out, so to that end, they're familiar with winching, but not obviously with our equipment, our helicopter or our procedures. So what we'll do on startup for Edie and Ginger is we'll hover taxi probably over to the winching area, the light aircraft park, and just move to the side to a position of your choosing, preferably over the grass, and come into a 30-40 foot hover, and then just run through a winching brief for the guys so they're familiar with the equipment, the downwash, etc. And then once we're happy with that, we'll depart off up to the east. If we see a boat, we're going to have a look at that first, subject to what the power is. The other shot they'd quite like to do is we winch down onto an island and then take some footage of the helicopter moving past.
Obviously, locating an appropriate ship, a target of opportunity as it were, takes time. And here's where the Sikorsky S-92 comes into its own. With extraordinary range, it has the legs to keep flying, something that is critical in extended missions over the sea, where there is no diversionary airfield.
We've got a range, we can go out to 250 miles. We can stay there for half an hour on task and then we can come back. So that's our radius of action, but if we had to go in one direction, we could do, at least with the aircraft in the configuration it is at the moment, we could get over 500 miles, and then we've got an internal tank that gives us another hour's duration on top of that.
Right, it's time for me to get an idea of just what winching down to the deck of a moving ship is all about.
There are too many things which I've not tried when it comes to aviation. This is something I've actually done before, but every time one does it, it just seems to be utterly, completely crazy. Winching down from a helicopter and then being winched up is actually quite a painful affair. The winch actually attaches itself to under your arm, and every time you lift it up from the ground, it hurts like hell.
I've winched off a submarine in the past, but winching down to a moving ship, that too on the heavy seas of the North Atlantic, is bound to be different. But to make me feel right at home, the Coast Guard decide to pick an Indian ship for me to touch down on. Here we go. Soon, though, it's time to get back onto the helicopter and return to Sambra.